Why did God want to destroy the Amalekites? God had promised their destruction because they defied and sinned making war with him, when they made war with Israel when it was wearied from coming out of Egypt, with women, elderly and children. 8 Then came Amalek, and fought with Israel in Rephidim. 14 And the Lord said unto Moses, Write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua, for I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. 16 For he said, Because the Lord hath sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. Exodus chapter 17 verses 8, 14, 16 KJV. 17 Remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way, when ye were come forth out of Egypt. 19 Therefore it shall be, when the Lord thy God hath given thee rest from all thine enemies round about, in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven, thou shalt not forget it. Deuteronomy chapter 25 verses 17, 19 KJV. 13 And he gathered unto him the children of Ammon and Amalek, and went and smote Israel, and possessed the city of palm trees. Judges chapter 3 verse 13 KJV. 2 Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way, when he came up from Egypt. 3 Now go and smite Amalek, and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. 1 Samuel chapter 15 verses 2-3 KJV. 18 Because thou obeyedst not the voice of the Lord, nor executedst his fierce wrath upon Amalek, therefore hath the Lord done this thing unto thee this day. 1 Samuel chapter 28 verse 18 KJV. 11 Them also King David dedicated unto the Lord, with the silver and the gold that he brought from all these nations, from Edom, and from Moab, and from the children of Ammon, and from the Philistines, and from Amalek. 1 Chronicles chapter 18 verse 11 KJV. The Amalekites were the descendants of Esau's firstborn son, Eliphaz by Timnah, his concubine. As a group, they were the first people to launch an unprovoked attack on the Israelites after the Exodus at Rephidim, Exodus chapter 17 verses 8-16. As a consequence of this, God declared that ultimately, they would become extinct, Numbers chapter 24 verse 20. A year later, they again attack Israel, Numbers chapter 14 verses 41-45. Along with the Midianites, they pillaged the land of Israel. 7 years later, they would be defeated by the Israelite warrior Gideon and 300 men, Judges chapter 6 verses 1-3, 33. Their king, Agag, was eventually killed by Samuel after King Saul spared his life, 1 Samuel chapter 15 verses 2-33. The Amalekites were exterminated due to their persistent hatred of God's people. See Psalms 83-6-18. God wanted to destroy the Amalekites because of what happened in Exodus chapter 17 verse 8. The Amalekites killed the class of people who weren't as agile and fast to avoid the chase. You have no right to do that with God's people, especially at that time, when things weren't exactly too stable. Deuteronomy chapter 25 verses 17-19. And God promised that for doing such a thing, God would wipe out those people from the face of the earth. Saul was given the job to do that, 1 Samuel chapter 15.